Today I'm gonna set up my opinion of a meat bow. It's a balance of quietness, accuracy, and not a whole lot of small, minute parts to break. When it comes to bows, I think a lot of people, a lot of bow hunters fall into the target trap. I've written about this plenty of times before, and I've seen exactly how it works. Somebody sells you a bow with all the works, you're down at the range shooting it, you're nailing bullseyes from long distances, you're shooting good groups. So you build a target bow. I've seen it happen over and over. You get tiny peep sights, the best, most expensive sights, you get fancy rests with lots of moving parts, and on target ranges these things are wonderful. You can hit with them, and then it's virtually impossible to say, well, I can hit a lifesaver at 60 yards with this bow. Why wouldn't I use it hunting? There's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't. For example, a lot of the target bows have stabilizers that are 3, 4, 5 feet. I've researched all this, I've talked to pros, I've shot myself. Of course a long stabilizer allows you to shoot a little bit better. It naturally keeps you steadier, but they are not good hunting. I've seen time after time of guys trying to lug long stabilizers in the elk woods, for example, and literally come to a tree and can't move their bow or make noise or whatever. Same goes for all of these fancy sights. There's one big difference between the range and hunting, and that is animals are animals, and they can move and they will move. What I'm trying to say is today I'm gonna set up my opinion of a meat bow. But by meat bow I mean something that is solid. You can tighten everything down. It has minimal moving parts. It's small enough in the woods. It's light enough to maneuver. It's a balance of quietness, accuracy, yet it still has decent speed for power, not a whole lot of small, minute parts to break, and I'm gonna show you what that is today. In my job, I get to test all of the bows, and the good news is you really can't go wrong with any of the top tier bows, or even really all the bows these days. They are wonderful. If you get a bow and set it up correctly for you, it'll work. Today though, I'm choosing a Hoyt. My go-to bow for the last year has been the RX1 and then the RX3, the carbon fiber Hoyt bows. This year I went a little something different and ordered one of these. This is Hoyt's Axius Alpha. It kind of epitomizes the ultimate meat bow in my opinion. That's because it's not really hugely fancy when you look at it. It's not the lightest, it's not the heaviest, it's one of the quietest, I think.
That's a meaty ass bow!
Hoyt's not paying me anything. I have no loyalty to Hoyt. I've just chose this bow this year because it's a good one and I had to choose something. Their cam is a really good cam. Why? It's fully adjustable. I can adjust half sizes just by adjusting the module. It's really easy. It's got a 6 1/8 inch brace height, although I measured it and it looks more like I'm getting between an 1/8 and a quarter. It also advertises 29.5 axle to axle. I've got 29 1/4. It's 4.3 pounds, so that's pretty much the standard, but again, the heavier it is, just like a stabilizer, the little bit easier to shoot it is. There's one thing though about this Hoyt Axius that made me want to choose it, and it actually influenced my decision on a rest also, and I think it's one of the true neatest, coolest, most useful, practical design inventions in a long time. They call it its integrate system, and that's because, why didn't I think of this? It's a dovetail system machined in the riser. It's a dovetail right there, almost like a scope mount or an airgun scope mount. You can directly mount your rest to that dovetail. Why didn't we think of this sooner? That little dovetail mount locks the rest, the integrate rest on, and it's just brilliant. I love it. So there you have a few of the features. For me, this is just kind of an ultimate, no frills hunting bow. So now let me talk about the accessories and how to build a bomb-proof bow. First thing, most people use a D-loop, and I'm going to because that's the standard and I have, but frankly, if you're using a pure hunting bow, you don't have to have a D-loop. When you're in a tree stand and you're using your release, it's so much easier to find just your string. I can feel it if you're in the dark, and I can find my knock there. I don't know how many times I've been scratch around looking for my D-loop. On a peep sight, Make sure you get one large enough. A 1/4 inch is good. Here's a 3/16. I met a pro from G5. I would even go up to a 1/4 if you have one. Now on a rest, I'm a Whisker Biscuit guy. And don't you make fun of me. Every time I go to a store, I get Whisker Biscuit shamed. Where I wind up, they won't let me buy one. I love a Whisker Biscuit. They just work. When I say Whisker Biscuit, I'm talking not just the Whisker Biscuit, but a full capture style rest. Now Hoyt, I hate to use all Hoyt products, but man, they do make some really good accessories. Of course, I think this is aftermarket stuff that they have made and buy, but regardless, man, their accessories are good. This is the UltraRest Integrate MX, and I'm going to install this myself. I'm going to show you how to do it. It is just not hard. If you take off this cover, there's an ingenious little worm screw in there with a clamp. This thing goes right on the back of a bow like that. I'm going to go halfway in between to allow me maximum movement up and down if I want to fine tune, if I want to micro tune. But see, there's a little mark on this bow. It's kind of tough to see because of the camouflage. I'm going to line that up right on there. That signifies the center of the burger button. And now I'm going to take, so there's no more jacking around with burger button holes. We're trying to find the center. That thing is already locked on. Now I'm going to put this cover on it that absolutely locks it down, doubly so. That is just so slick. I mean, that is on there solid. I know that this is probably going to be good. I mean, it's the middle of the burger hole, but if I need to move it slightly up or down, left and right after I paper tune it, it's micro adjustments right there. I mean, it's hand adjustable on both left and right, windage and elevation, micro adjustments. That's the UltraRest from Hoyt with the Integrate, which is one of the key features of this bow. Sights are a huge deal, and sights are largely personal, so I'm not going to pretend to tell you what you should do. I'll just tell you what I do. I'm a man of technology, but I also like to depend on things. I like hybrid sights that kind of had the best of both worlds. Flywheel slider. It's a 3-pin sliding sight, and I think it's bomb-proof, it's simple, and it does everything I wanted it to do. First, it's built of aluminum, even its pins, so it's solid. They're not going to break easy. They're small diameter pins, so you can really get good accuracy. It's a compact sight. It's really well machined. It has a battery-powered fiber optic, so you can shoot it in no light. Great visible sight ring you can see. I love it that it's micro adjustment with your hands, which is so important to me, so you don't have to be fumbling with your Allen wrenches when you're just trying to sight in your darn bow. But here's the magic of it. For me, whitetail hunting, mostly east of the Mississippi, a lot of times my furthest shot is 30 yards in the woods. Occasionally I might have a 40. I certainly, though, want to be prepared if, you know, lo and behold, something steps out at 60 yards and I have a little window, or I'm walking back to my truck or whatever. I need to be prepared to shoot as far as I can comfortably shoot. So I want to be prepared for everything. Also, I've never really liked having multiple rigs for different game. You know, why go out west and totally switch your setup? So to me, this is the best of all worlds. I've got 20, 30, 40 sight pins, and then if it's further than that, I can simply dial it. Great little sight. I'm going with the flywheel slider. It's also very reasonably priced. Oops, I've done it. I've cut my string. I've cut the dickens out of my thumb. For years, I used a really long stabilizer because I shot really well, and you feel so confident when you're on the range. Then I toned that down. Then for a long time, I started shooting with no stabilizer. And frankly, I haven't missed it that much. You know, bows aren't designed when they come from the factory to use a stabilizer, and you would be surprised how well you can shoot without them. I do shoot better with the stabilizer. I just don't like a real long one. So there's so many good ones on the market. pick one you like. I've identified one that I love, and it's not a new product. This is an Octane. You can see it's got some miles on it. This is kind of the best of both worlds product too, because your sight is already sticking out that much. You might as well have a stabilizer that it's at least that long because you're not losing anything there. There it is, and if you want to shoot it like that, great, but Danielson extends. That extension really does help. The longer you get out there, you can tell that the bow is just a little bit tougher to move. But that's kind of the best of both worlds. When it's not in use, you can roll it down. So I'm going with the Octane. Bulletproof, baby. There's so many good quivers on the market. Unfortunately, they're all gotten so expensive these days. I'm just gonna go with this Hoyt. You know why? They sent this with the bow, but I've been dissatisfied here after a while with a few quivers and that wouldn't hold my carbon arrows or whatever, but I like this one because it's got some carbon fiber. It is super light. It's adjustable. I just think it's a pretty cool quiver. It's got a little hanger, not fancy, does the job, thin. Arrows, get a straight one, get a good one. Tons out there, doesn't really matter. I'm going with this Gold Tip Airstrike for one main reason. It's got this nano coating. It's a ceramic nano coating called Dynatech. This molecular ceramic gets into the pores. It's almost like Rain-X for your windshield. It's amazing. Anyway, they put that technology on these arrows and you can feel how slick it is. Now, what's the big deal, Jeff? I'll tell you what the big deal is. I've seen it. These arrows penetrate a little bit further, at least in foam targets. It's really tough to measure on animals because everything is always so different. What I don't like, they came with these small little BS target fletchings because we're shooting broadheads now that I'm going to get to. I wish they had 3 to 4 inch fletchings. I may have these refletched. Broadheads are one of the biggest debated topics now. A lot of times people shoot one animal with one broadhead and it dies and they never change. They never use another one. That's fine. I was in the Thunderhead cult for a while. I was in the Muzzy cult. I've been in a bunch of cults. Most of them involve naked women. Just about anything works. I like the accuracy of the expandables as long as you practice with them too, because rest assured they don't all shoot like your field points. But over time, I've had some fail on me, especially when you get into bigger game like elk. I've just gone back to a traditional fixed blade. It's just me. Do whatever you want, but as long as you practice with those broadheads at will, they'll be just fine. With that said, there are a couple of heads on the market that I really love because they're super tough. Here's Wasp's 150 grain sharpshooter traditional head. That's a 4-blade cut on contact, and this thing is just tough as nails. You can feel it. It's all steel. Wonderful head. Here's a Sledgehammer, another Wasp. That's a 125 grain head. Thunderhead, still wonderful heads. They make 125 grainer. I would say my recommendation is if you're a hunter, whatever head you choose, try to find at least 125 grain broadhead. I'm going with these 150 grain Wasp Sharpshooter 150 grain traditional head. It is a badass broadhead. All right, first shots. When I come out here, I'm just trying to get on target. I want to feel the bow, and then I'm going to go back and start really super tuning it and paper tuning it with my broadheads because it's right now right up against the hunting season. So here goes. Needs a little tuning on the rest. Immediately I noticed the bow was really quiet. The only thing I really heard was the arrow coming off the rest because I haven't put the moleskin on there yet. I also really like the draw. I drew it really slow. I can't stand bows that are so aggressive that no matter how easy you try to do it, you snap over, because deer, if they're inside 10 yards, a lot of times will notice that. So I like the ability to draw one really smooth. I like the back wall. For me, it was good. Again, one of the reasons I really love these Hoyts is because they're so adjustable and I can get that draw length where it really fits me good. All around, that was my first shot. Felt great. It was quiet. It seemed to be really fast. I'm gonna chronograph it. I just like the way it handles right here. There you have it. From the peep sight to the rest to this Hoyt Axius Alpha. That is my 2020 bow setup. And here in a couple of days, hopefully I get to kill something with it. I'm Jeff Johnston. That's no BS.